Thank you guys for joining me tonight. We are going to do a yin practice this evening. Last week we focused a lot on upper body, shoulders, spine. So for tonight's practice we'll do some lower body and some hips. We will do a supported bridge pose towards the end. So if you have a yoga block at home, you can use a block. I'm going to just be using a rolled up blanket. You could also use like a beach towel or bath towel or anything like that. Just something to support the hips. So just go ahead and grab anything that you need for that and have it nearby. We won't be doing it till the end of class. I think that's about it. For anybody new to yin, I usually say at the beginning that this is a slower practice. We hold the poses for a couple of minutes at a time. We kind of jump into it cold and we're targeting that connective fascia tissue. So I think that's everything. We can go ahead and get started. We'll start out tonight in a few moments of seated meditation. So that can be any comfortable seat. It can be cross-legged like this, or you can have the legs extended out front if that's more comfortable. You can also find some support by leaning up against a wall. Just whatever feels good for you. Begin to close the eyes. Feel the body sinking down into the mat. Feel the breath start to slow. And just allow anything that may have happened in your day or in your week so far to just melt away. As you inhale, imagine yourself breathing in fresh, new air and exhaling out anything that no longer serves you. Allow the spine to grow tall with the crown reaching up towards the sky as the shoulders melt down and away from the ears. You might like to take a few moments to bring an intention to mind for your practice tonight. That can be a phrase or a feeling or a thought, something that resonates with you that you'd kind of like to come back to throughout your practice, something that can guide you through, something that serves you or maybe serves those around you. For example, your intention can be peace, your intention can be love, it can be stillness, just something that really resonates with you today. Take just another moment or two thinking about that intention. And then on your next breath, allow the eyelids to open slowly. Keep a soft gaze. And we'll start to get into our first yin posture. We'll make our way to our feet for this. Our first posture is going to be dangling pose. So it's basically a forward fold. So you can allow some softness in the knees here. The feet are a few inches apart, about hip width, maybe a little bit less. And again, with the softness in the knees, allow the crown to start to sink down towards the mat. So we're targeting both the spine and the hamstrings with this stretch. And we're going to hold it here for about 3 minutes. So try to let the neck and the head relax. You can allow the hands to find and hold on to opposite elbows if that feels good for you. Again, you can allow the eyes to close if it feels comfortable. And settle in here. As we're approaching the halfway mark for this pose, you may notice the upper body, the crown, sinking a little deeper down towards the mat. And it's okay to let that happen. You may find a deeper expression of the pose. We have just a few more moments left here. You can allow the hands to release from the elbows, and then softening the knees even more, starting to bend at the knees. We'll just slowly lower the sits bones down to the mat, coming into a seated position. Move slowly to avoid any dizziness in the head. And take a quick moment here to reset. Notice any feelings or sensations that are coming up in the body. For our next pose, we're going to take a half butterfly. So extend the right leg out long in front. The toes are pointing up, the foot's flexed. And just bring that left leg in so the bottom of the foot is on the right thigh. Once you have the legs set up, you want to turn the torso so that the heart is in the same line as that right knee. And then when you're ready to move into the pose, just start to hinge at the hips as you lower the nose down towards the knee. So again, we're targeting a hamstring stretch here. You may also feel this in the lower back. So if you have any back issues, be careful here. Make sure you don't push past your edge. But just find whatever edge is right for you tonight and sink in. We'll hold this pose again for 3 minutes. If you notice the mind wandering off, just gently remind yourself to come back to the present moment and maybe refocus on that intention that you set at the beginning. We have just about 30 seconds left on this side. When you're ready, begin to peel the heart up, moving one vertebrae at a time, and again going nice and slow to avoid any head rush or dizziness. And then bring the soles, the bottoms of the feet to the mat, and just take a few windshield wipers with the knees from side to side. You may notice that one side of the body or one leg feels a little differently than the other. And then we'll extend the left leg out long and prepare for our half butterfly on the opposite side. So tucking that right foot in, so the bottom of the foot is right next to the thigh. Turning the torso so that the heart is in line with the knee. And then when you are ready, moving that heart space down towards the leg. Letting the head and the neck drop down. We have 3 minutes here. We have just a few more breaths left here. Maybe you find that forehead sinking a little deeper, closer to the knee. On an inhale, slowly peel the heart up, walking the hands back in towards the body. And take a few rounds of that windshield wiper, releasing tension in the hips and in the lower back. So we've done half butterfly on both sides. We're now going to prepare for a full butterfly. So the bottoms of the feet will come together, the knees come out wide to each side. You can adjust how close or how far away the feet are from the body. If they're further away, that'll be a less intense stretch. So as you set up the legs, find a tall spine, breathe in, allow the shoulders to relax down from the ears. And then on your exhale, begin to hinge forward, moving the heart down towards the feet. And again, letting the neck relax. We're holding this one for 4 minutes. If your thoughts are wandering off, just again pull them back to this present moment. We're just over halfway through. We're almost ready to come out of this pose. Just take a few more deep breaths at your edge here. And then slowly, one vertebrae at a time, peeling back up to a seated position. Allow the head to come up last. And let's take a few rounds of a seated cat-cow, just as a counter pose here. So bringing the hands to the front of the shins or the knees, pressing the heart through the shoulders, and then exhale, rounding the spine. Inhale, pressing that heart space through. And exhale, rounding the spine, tucking the chin. Good. If you need to take any other spinal movements, feel free to do that. We'll set up for the next pose is a dragon pose. We'll get into the hips a little bit more. So I'll demonstrate dragon from the front first, and then I'll move on to the side so you can see both angles. To get into dragon, we'll start in a low lunge. The back leg extended long, and that front knee at about a 90-degree angle, a right angle. Both hands come to the inside of the front foot, and then we'll just inch that front foot out just a few paces, just a few inches. If this is too intense for you, you can lift up and just kind of stay in this low lunge, and you'll feel some hips opening and some hip stretches here. If you'd like to, you can roll onto the outer edge of that front foot and kind of open that knee. And you can also come down to the forearms here, so depending on what level of stretch that you're looking for. So that's from the front. Again, I'm going to take this from a side angle so you can see that as well. I'm starting in a low lunge, bringing that front foot out, opening up that knee, and then I'm going to sink my forearms down. But again, that's just an option. You certainly don't have to take that deep of a pose. So we'll be here for 2 minutes. So really allow those hips to sink down towards the mat. Try to relax the jaw, the forehead, that whole upper body. Oftentimes, if we're in intense poses, we take that intensity and that stress and we place it in another part in the body. So for example, you may find yourself really clenching your jaw here or making tight fists. So I encourage you to do a quick scan and see if you're holding any of that tension anywhere where the pose is not targeting. So the forehead, the jaw, the fists. And just send some breath to those areas. We have just about 30 seconds left on this side, so stay here with me for these last few breaths. One more full inhale, full exhale. And then begin to lift the heart, bring that foot back into the center. I'm going to sweep that front foot all the way to the back. And we'll take a quick child's pose here, just about 30 seconds to a minute to take a quick break between sides. Then notice how your body's feeling here. Notice how that right hip is feeling versus the left. Breathe deeply as you stretch the hands out in front of you. Good. Go ahead and make your way into a tabletop position. And then we'll step that other foot up in front, that left foot, making our way into a low lunge. So again, I'm going to take that left foot a few inches out to the side, opening up that knee, rolling onto the knife edge of the front foot. You can stay here or option to lower the forearms down. Find the variation that serves you best. Find your edge. And then settle in. Commit to staying in this pose for the full 2 minutes. Notice if you're holding on to any tension. Good. We're just over halfway through, so stay with me here. Take about 3 more deep breaths from the belly. And when you finish that third breath, come back up into that tabletop position. You can send that front leg towards the back. And we'll find that child's pose again for just a couple of seconds here. You can keep the knees together or bring the knees out wide. Whatever feels best for you. You're welcome to stay in this child's pose as long as you'd like. We have one more yin posture before we go into our shavasana, and that is a supported bridge. So I mentioned at the beginning of class, if you have a yoga block, you can use that for supported bridge. You can also use a blanket or a towel of any kind. I'm using a blanket that's rolled up into a little burrito shape. So if you don't have any, if you don't have those props nearby, take a minute to find one now. And then we'll make our way onto the backs with the heels tucked in close to the sits bones. So allow the whole length of the spine to relax down onto the mat. Go ahead and find your blanket or block, whatever prop you'd like to use. And then on your next inhale, begin to press into the mat with the heels as you lift the hips. Slide that prop underneath the hips so it should be right around the sacrum. So kind of that point of the top of the hips and the very bottom of the spine. So once you have that prop in place, let the hips sink down, let that upper body relax, and prepare to be here in our supported bridge for a total of 3 minutes. You can allow the hands to come rest by the sides or maybe rest on top of the belly. As we're spending our last few moments in this pose, come back to the intention that you set. Maybe you'd like to take that intention with you for the rest of your evening or for the rest of your week. With your next breath, begin to press into the heels, lifting the hips up and removing that prop. You can place that off to the side as you return the hips back down to the mat, and then pull the knees into the chest, giving them a nice tight squeeze and maybe rocking from side to side. Take any final movements here that you may need to close out your practice. Maybe a happy baby or legs up the wall. And just any final postures that your body may be asking for. And then when you're ready, we'll send the heels out long to each corner of the mat. As we let the body sink down and relax into our Shavasana. Begin to bring awareness back to the body and back to the present. Take some small movements in the fingers and in the toes, and then in the ankles and the wrists. When you're ready, rolling over onto one side, and then eventually pressing up into a seated position. We'll bring the hands together at heart center, and then draw the thumb knuckles up to the third eye as we bow and say namaste. Thank you guys for joining me tonight and for sharing your practices with me, sharing your time with me. I hope you have a good rest of your night.